Go ahead and do that. So I'll go through a couple administrative things and then about like less than 5 minutes, and then we'll hop right into our lesson today. So let me share my screen as always. And I'm just going to share a portion of my screen now. Let's see here. Gotta find the run. There we go. Okay. So, okay, you guys see phase one here, a list of stuff we're doing. Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can see it. Cool. All right, I just want to make sure. All right. Okay, so let me just go to our homeroom page. So I updated the homeroom page a little bit. I mentioned this from yesterday that I'm just putting in like what kind of things we're going through. If you actually check the calendar now, I also have tried to kind of like keep the study group, like show like what we're talking about in that study group. That way you can get a little bit better plan. I might just end up dedicating just doing this versus like writing it out on the homeroom page, but you guys let me know. This way you can kind of see a little bit of like what we're going to talk about today. Like today we're going to talk about data visualization. Okay. I added a resource here that I wanted to mention about to everyone. So this is like the student resources spreadsheet. I'll make this into a link in a bit, but it's basically a spreadsheet where myself and the other instructors, we've been putting videos in here from our other cohorts and such. It's actually pretty well made and everything. I want to kind of walk you guys through a little bit. So note that like this is technically a version 2.1. Some of these versions might be older in the sense that they might refer to things that might have been updated since you guys are looking at it now, and they might be a little bit different, or they might be a little bit out of order, or the numbering system might be different. Just know that the material's like kind of generally the same, so it's kind of good to check out. You can like go to this master sheets tab right here. You guys can all see this, right? Just want to make sure you can see the spreadsheet. Okay, good. See a nod. So you can see a little bit version 2.1. So we should be, I believe, on version 2.1. But you might see some older stuff like 2.0, for example. And then you can see this mod. Know that mod is not what we use. We use phase now, and then section is topic. So just kind of how you translate that. They're roughly similar, but you might have something slightly different. Like you can see is, yeah, you guys can kind of explore this. But you can see basically we have the title, and this gives you an idea of what the topic's about. And then on the right here, you see the instructor. So you can see Jeff, Lindsay, myself. So like people have been like, we instructors put our videos here for the most part. And then you can see the URL to actually go to that video. And then usually if there isn't like supporting material, like URL, like I have like a lot of my like notebooks up online, right? You can see that we'll actually put in our like links to those resources and stuff like that. So that way you can kind of navigate through. Okay. There's also a cool little function here called search. And you can actually search in here, for example, let's just say, it's called machine learning. So if I do like machine learning here, it should pull up. There you go. And you can see it'll pull up only the topics with that keyword in there. So one thing to kind of help people out, this is editable for anyone, which is kind of a funky thing, but it kind of makes it work, at least in the context for this spreadsheet. Just make sure you delete your stuff afterwards. That way people can like fill in whatever they want. And that way, you can for the next person. But you can kind of search those keywords in here and it'll pull up whatever you're looking at. For example, we talked about pandas. There's probably a whole lot of videos on pandas. And I go ahead and run into that. You can see here's a bunch of videos. And you can see even, I believe you can see what date it was as well. So you can see here, this was like, for example, last year, but there's even a couple from like almost 3 years ago. So you can check that out. Okay, or I said 2 years ago. Cool, makes sense. Cool. There's some extra tabs here you can kind of play around with. Some of the older versions. There's like some lab walkthroughs, some playlists. So some of the cohorts, they have some of the instructors just put their playlist on here, and you can actually check that out, similar to how we have our playlist for our cohort. Okay, cool. So I want to point that out. Just know that it is on the homepage right here, so that we can get to it. I can bookmark it and whatnot. I think people sometimes just like to see it. Like I tell people, I have like a lot of videos in here too, but even just looking at videos from, could be me, but could be from another instructor too. Like I won't feel offended if you like go watch another instructor's video and you learn something new from it. Like that's great. Like that's the point of it being there. So definitely use that if you like to kind of check out a little bit what's out there. Yeah, cool.
Victor,
Mhm.
do we need certain access? Because I just accessed the spreadsheet and it says view only, so I can't even use that search bar you're talking
Oh,
about.
you're right. I think that was a thing that we had to do. I might have to talk to, I just realized that's true. I wonder if they fixed that. So for now, I think just use the view only at the very worst, I guess.
Hmm.
At worst, you just can't use the search bar. I'm going to
Okay.
talk to the instructor who built this because I thought there was a workaround. I think what they ended up doing, you can see a little bit like these are locked. I think we might even open it for edit access. And the only thing you can edit is pretty much like that thing. But I'll talk to the instructor. For now, though, like I would say just look at essentially the long list of it, which is the master sheet tab. And you can kind of scroll through here. And the worst things you have to do is like look for it or control F, which like say time series, right? So you can see a little bit like how you can find ones in there. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out because I'll have to ask James about that. Cool.
All right, cool.
Yeah, any other questions about this guy? No, pretty good. Okay. That's the main admin thing I wanted to mention about. The playlist, you guys all know that. I've been updating that. So if you guys just look at that playlist, you should be set. Okay, I think that is all I really want to show you for admin kind of stuff. Now let's talk about our lesson. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about data visualization. So let me just go ahead and pull up that, oops, the Flatiron curriculum resources. So I'm going to show you guys, we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to have a little warm up and a little groups. So I think it'll be kind of fun. Shouldn't take us more than 10 minutes, like 10 minutes at most is what I'm going to give you guys. So today we're going to live mostly in data science basics. We're going to talk about visualization, do all that good stuff. And in particular, we're going to do this warm up here. And so this warm up, I'm going to send them the link right now. So let me go ahead and where's my chat window for Zoom? Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna send it in the chat window. And so what I'm gonna show you guys in a second is just how you can like just download this directly. You guys are going to each download that this notebook that I have up here. And the idea here is I actually have two text data here, and I actually made it so there's a link to the internet, so that way you don't have to download the data and then find it and do that. If you just run this cell, it'll upload the data into data DFM and DFW. But I want you to download this. So like, how can you download a single file? If you clone this already, like if you did a git clone of this repo and do all that stuff, you could pull it up, but it's from like last night that I updated it last. So you might not have like the most recent thing. What you can do instead, if you just want one specific file, you can click raw here. Okay, and you can see like, it's like, ooh, like all scariness. This is actually Jupyter Notebook in its purest form. For the record, it's a JSON format. We'll talk about that next week. But what we can do here is just a file. You can actually go Command S or Control S, and you can save it now. I'm just going to save it to downloads. And you can see here, it says visualization warm up, and I can just save that onto wherever I want, your desktop or navigate into wherever you put your Jupyter notebooks. And then you can actually open up this Jupyter notebook from Jupyter, right? So you load up Jupyter, you go through there. So just kind of show you a little bit what that looks like, right? I'm doing this. I know this, you guys can't see me typing on the terminal right now, but I'm just starting up Jupyter Notebook. You'll see a load in a second. There it goes. And then you can see here, I can click on visualizations warm up, and you can see I can now start editing and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the simple way to do this. So what you guys are going to do today is you guys going to go through this warm up. I'm going to just make it only 10 minutes, 8 minutes. I think that 10 minutes might be too long. And I'm going to break you guys out into groups, put you guys into breakout groups. So then you're going to be with your group. It's going to be about 3, maybe 4 people. And what your goal is basically just load this data, and you can read a little bit what this data set's about, and just kind of spend some very brief time just to look and see if there's any pattern. You'll find that it's a relatively simple data set. I think there's about, there's quite a lot of data points, but the data set itself is relatively simple. You'll see there's only really 3 columns, and one of those columns is just basically, I think it's just like an index or something like that. So you guys can play around with that. I note that it is tabular spaced, so I kind of put that in for you guys. Okay, so right now what I want you guys to do is go ahead and download that, navigate it to it, open Jupyter Notebook, and while you guys are kind of doing that, I'm going to split you guys into breakout groups, and you guys will talk amongst yourselves, figure out stuff, and we'll come back together at the 50, so 10 till. Okay, and just kind of do that right now. I'm going to pause the recording actually, since there's no reason to do this. Let me pause the recording.